Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 2 of Chicks and Sticks, brought to you by the Hockey Writers. My name is Melissa Boyd, and I'm joined once again by my esteemed panel of writers, Kristy Flannery, Hannah Garfield, and Mariah Holland. Hi, ladies. How are you tonight?
Hi.
Hello.
If you're enjoying our show, make sure to drop us a like, a follow, or a comment from wherever you're watching or listening. And please don't be shy to send us in your questions, and we'll be sure to answer them. This week, we're ecstatic to be welcoming our first special guest to the show. We're speaking with Sara Giles. She is a graduate of the University of Mississippi and a self-proclaimed coffee enthusiast. She has interned with the New York Islanders and Pittsburgh Penguins, and since moved on to work with the Dallas Stars, the New Jersey Devils, and she currently calls Nashville home, working with the Predators organization as their marketing content manager. Welcome, Sara.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So we'll start with a question, I believe, from Hannah.
Yeah, thanks, Melissa, and thank you so much for being here, Sara. First, I think I would love to hear a lot. You are a broadcast journalism major at Ole Miss, and you've kind of switched over or kind of pivoted your career towards social media and content. So kind of what brought about that change from broadcast to social media?
Yeah, so growing up, I always wanted to work in hockey and media in some way. And so I chose Ole Miss because they have a really great journalism school. And so I thought, writing about hockey or talking about hockey would just be the best thing to do. And so when I went there, I thought I'd wanted to be a reporter, and I still kind of have that, would like to do that maybe one day. And I feel like with the way that media has changed, my first internships, it wasn't until I was with the Penguins and my first internship with them, where it was directly with social media and their social media department. And I was like, I went into it being like, no, I want to be a reporter, but like, this is cool, to intern with the Penguins. And then it was where I went there and they had a whole team of social media people, even in 2016, of like 4 or 5 people. And I was like, well, this is cool. Like, I already do social media, and every internship I've had before that, social media was just kind of put on me. And so I'm like, I'm still reporting in some way, I'm just doing it from a team account, or I'm covering it for the team. And so that's when it kind of pivoted that way. And that's when social media really kicked off, and it was really important to be on social media and cover it that way. But even in my other positions and internships, I still did some writing or video editing or something of that sort. And so that's kind of how it went that way. I still think one day I wouldn't mind doing reporting again, but I like to do it all. I like social media, I like the writing, I like creating content, and I like reporting too. But yeah, I would say it wasn't until my internship with the Penguins and really seeing how hard they work and what all they can do is when I kind of pivoted towards social media.
That's awesome.
That's great. So growing up in Louisiana, I would say that hockey is not that popular. So did you go to college knowing you wanted to cover hockey? Did you have a team that you rooted for as a child? What kind of brought you into hockey and away from the Southern football stereotype?
Yeah, so we actually grew up with a minor league hockey team. At the time, they're the Central Hockey League. They're not a league anymore. The Bossier Shreveport Mudbugs. And so we grew up, my brother and my dad and I grew up watching them from a young age. And to be honest, I did not know what hockey was before then. I maybe was 10 or so, and just, it wasn't a thing. I didn't know what it was. And so we went to games and immediately became obsessed with it. And I remember being in the stands in my second game and looked at my dad and I was like, I'm going to work in hockey. This is awesome. And so my brother started playing, and in Shreveport, we didn't really have open ice anywhere, like an ice rink, even though there was a minor team playing there. So a lot of kids played inline hockey. And then my brother and a group, there's a solid group of kids who wanted to play hockey, but the nearest ice was either 4 hours south in Louisiana or in Houston, 4 hours away, or 3 hours away in Dallas. And so my brother quickly, when he was 7 or 8, quickly started playing on travel teams, and we would travel 3 a.m., get in my dad's Suburban and drive to Houston just for my brother to practice, or we had tournaments all over the South. And so I quickly became, I guess, a rink rat in a way, where I just tagged along with my brother and his friends and went from rink to rink. And I fell in love with it so much that way. And hockey is such a like tight-knit community, and it's like really a family to it, especially when they were playing growing up. And so I have so many great memories of them playing hockey and my brother and his friends playing and traveling that way. And so I feel like hockey is a sport, once you really get into it and you watch it, like you're hooked, like and so that's how I kind of instantly was hooked. But yes, people always wonder, they're like, are you from like what? But if we didn't have that minor league team, like, I don't know. I mean, then we started watching the Stars because they weren't too far away. But now they have a junior hockey team in the NHL in Shreveport. So I feel like it's still, hockey's still alive there. But yeah, I think that showed our dedication to the sport, that we would literally drive 4 hours just for my brother to practice.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's that. If it wasn't for that team, I don't know how I would have really found out about hockey.
That's such a cool story how you got involved. You have a resume that most people would be envious of. Did you actually live in all those NHL cities? And out of all of them, which one felt the most like home if they did?
Yeah, so that's what's funny is, I mean, it's really been a great part of like my journey to get to where I am now. And at the time, I felt like I just wanted to keep moving on, like keep getting that next step, and like to reach my goals. I've always had very big like career goals and wanted to like achieve them more than anything. And so, yeah, I lived in all those cities. It really was like first a bunch of internships, and in sports, I'm sure, as you guys know, it's so hard to like just get in and like break through. And so, I mean, there was definitely times where I thought like, this is never going to happen for me. Like, what am I doing? And even though like I had all this experience, but it's so hard to get through. And yeah, I loved being in the Islanders were my first like NHL, and I've also worked in a lot of minor league hockey too. But I think Pittsburgh was probably really cool because that's when they won the Stanley Cup. And so even though I was an intern, I was really involved with that from a social aspect, and like just being in the Stanley Cup parade, like that. As a little girl growing up in Louisiana watching minor league hockey, like what are the chances? And so I liked Pittsburgh, and I liked how Pittsburghers love Pittsburgh and love Pittsburgh sports. And then I did grow up watching the Dallas Stars, and like I said, we went to Dallas a lot for hockey, so that Dallas kind of always felt like home. But I do really like Nashville now, and it's quickly become like one of my favorites. And just being with the organization has really helped a lot, and it's a lot of really great people. But I think Dallas will always be home in a way. But I am full on Preds fan, loyal to the Predators now.
Well, yeah, speaking of the Predators, actually, I work in social media myself, so I was curious to know, what does a game day look like in terms of producing, publishing content? I'm sure it's pretty crazy from the moment you get up to the moment you put your head back on the pillow.
Yeah, so it is pretty crazy, and it's been crazy this year because I can only have a certain amount of people around the team, so we're kind of a smaller group on a game day. But yeah, it starts early. I try to schedule as many things as I can just to help my chaos of a game day. But starting early, like I'm posting as soon as 7 a.m., game day graphics and stuff like that. And then if we have a morning skate, I'll get to the arena normally morning skates around 10:30. So I get to the arena around 9 because sometimes I like to go on the ice early. And I have FOMO, but for content, like I have fear of missing out of content. It's like, I don't want to get there too late, even though it's a 10:30 morning skate. Maybe Phil Forsberg's on there at 10, or maybe someone brought their dog or something. So it's like, I, always want to make sure I can capture it, but it's impossible to capture everything. But I'm a list person. I have a list, a checklist, and I go off of everything. But I'm posting things, and then once I get to the arena for morning skate, I'm capturing video, whether it's filming on my phone or using a different camera, taking photos. That's all for social. I manage all of our social media platforms. Then after morning skate, that's when players will do their press conference after skate. And so then I'll wait for those to get published to the site, upload those to social, anything like that. And then luckily after that, since I live close to the arena, I can kind of go home for a little bit, and then maybe around noon where I'm still posting things, or there's a whole other side to it. Like, yeah, game days are crazy, but maybe I have a sponsorship meeting at noon where we're talking about new activations coming up, or we're talking about, events this summer. And so I have to be really organized with that. And it's hard because on game days, my head is like just on like, okay, this is a big game, but there's other parts to it that I don't think people realize. And then I'll probably head back to the arena around 3:34, get some coffee, head to the arena around 3:30 or 4 to get player arrivals. And that's fun because like now I know their schedule, but players can come like anytime between 3 and like 5 or the latest. So I try to capture that for social, and then from like 5 until warm-ups, it's pretty dead. That's where there's nothing really going on. You know, guys are getting in the zone and stretching and stuff like that. And then warm-ups, I go to the bench and capture as much as I can. And then that's where it gets crazy because it's like, okay, warm-ups are done. Puck drop is in like 15 minutes. And like, I love the chaos of it. I thrive under that. And then during the game, it's mainly me. My boss does help me out a little bit because there's just so much to get out there and to post. But I'm creating GIFs from the game, cutting video from the game. We do have a photographer who will send us in-game pictures, but live tweeting everything, you know, posting it to all the platforms. After the game, that's where I like to get like the post celebration of the guys coming off the ice. They have funny routines and dances and things that they do. And if I'm not there, they'll be like, "Where's Sarah? Like, this needs to be posted." And then we wait for like a post-game recap and post-game interviews. And so once I post those, it's normally around 11 o'clock. So from 9 to 11, I'm pretty much tuned in, but I live it. I live for the game days. I think it's so much fun. And so I'm crazy in that way, but that's so much fun to me. It doesn't stress me out. It doesn't bother me. It's like, I feel like that's what we all work for, or for those moments and capturing those moments. And so, yeah, it's a busy day, but when it's not, like, we don't have a game for a while, I'm just like, what am I doing? I'm bored.
Who am I? What's happening?
Now, do you travel with the team?
Yes. So normally it'll be like every other trip I'll go with the team. But with COVID, I wasn't going to. And then now I have been. And so I actually leave on Saturday to go to Carolina for the playoffs. And so it's exciting. I mean, it's definitely a perk of the job. I don't ever get like, it's just me. So like I get a lot of people, maybe if they have families, it gets harder in time to be on the road for so long. But it's funny, when I first got here, the first road trip they wanted me to go on was like the longest one we've ever had in franchise history. It was like an 18-day road trip. And my boss was like, "I'm sorry, I'm not sending her on that. I'm not letting that be her first road trip." But it's fun because I can feel like I get so much more fun content on the road. I don't know why. I feel like the guys are maybe more like looser, or, you know, we're on the plane and like they like the action shots or the paparazzi of them walking onto the plane. And so I feel like sometimes on the road there's less pressure and they have a lot more fun with it. And so it's definitely a perk of the job, and, you know, it's exciting. And I like being able to I love creating content. So being able to do just as much as we do at home and matching that on the road, I think I'm really lucky to be able to do that.
Okay. Now I have to ask the hard-hitting question. How much are you allowed to pack on these away games? Because I need to know, as somebody who cannot pack to save my life, how does this actually work?
They've never told me any restrictions. Like, I'm actually was thinking today, because I thought we weren't flying till Sunday, because we don't play until Monday in Carolina. And we'll be there till Wednesday night. We fly back Wednesday night. And they're like, "Okay, we're flying Saturday now." And I'm like, "What?" I know it's serious to bring, but they really, luckily, there's no restrictions because the guys pack really, really light. And like I said, I've been the only girl on these trips. So it's
man.
It's funny because I'll bring my big old suitcase and they're like, "Really? Like, do you need all that?" And I'm like, "I do." And so I feel like you always gotta be prepared. Like, really, like, you never know, you know, and while you're on the road, I'd rather be over prepared. But luckily, I have not been told I pack too much.
Any of those players with a wife should know that the luggage is going to be what it is. They should all know that that's just what's going to happen.
Yeah. Now the 2-week, 19-day trip or whatever it was, like, that would have been, I would have had to bring multiple. I feel like.
It would have been a month and a half worth of luggage.
You can't, they're like, they stay at really nice hotels where it's like, they'll wash it for you. And I'm like, I ain't paying for that. Like, I don't want to bring Carlton and wash my clothes, so I'm going to bring as many suitcases as I can. But yeah, I need to pack soon.
So you talked a little bit earlier about, how Pittsburgh had a big social media team. So how many people make up the Predators social media team?
It's just me right now. So, I've worked for different teams that have a lot of different people. I mean, like I said, my boss, Thomas Willis, he's director of digital. He definitely helps, but it's like, he kind of oversees our small digital department. And so like when I'm on the bench filming warm-up content, I'm like, I need your help because I can't post the starting lineups right now. Like I'm filming this, and so I'll definitely help. But in terms of other content, we do have really great photographer, videographer with us in the bubble right now. Nick, he does help a lot too. But in the terms of managing platforms, like posting, it's just me currently. And so it's been good. And I've had challenges and anywhere I've gone and have had a team of 6 people and just one person. But I think too with COVID, it's been hard for teams to really staff maybe more people. And so I think in the future, just as social media grows, we'll definitely, I think everybody would hope to have more help and stuff like that. But yeah, right now it's just me.
So once you get the content, what does the approval process look like before it actually gets published online?
So in terms of just pictures or quick videos, like iPhone videos, for the most part, there's no really approval, which is really great. Different organizations I've worked with have definitely had different rules, but I've kind of know too, just from my experience, or should I post this? Or, I've got a relationship with our PR team where today, I can say it because our coach said it, but Victor Arvidsson was on the ice and he had been hurt. And so even though there was media there covering our practice, I'm like, hey, can I post RV? Can I post a picture of him on the ice? People have been wondering. And he's like, no, let's hold off on it. I'm like, okay, cool. And then afterwards, coach's press conference was like, yeah, Arvidsson skated today. He's feeling really great. And so then they're like, okay, you can post your picture. And so it's things like that where maybe if it's a closed practice and there's, this season with taxi squad and we have injuries and call ups, it's don't post, don't post this guy yet or whatever that may be. But our PR is really great in the way of they trust me and let me, kind of run with that, which is amazing because it's not like that everywhere. And so, they've been really great about that. So there's not too much of an approval process. It's kind of you have to think about it and be like, should I post this? Then I'll ask somebody. But they're really great here about that.
It's amazing that you're a one-woman show. That's incredible. Just looking at all the different platforms that you have to kind of control. So for a team like Nashville or Dallas, that may be a smaller market team, how important is social media in attracting new fans and that kind of aspect of the game?
Yeah, it's everything. Especially here, when I got here, I kind of noticed we didn't have too many younger, Gen Z audiences on our platforms, interacting with us. And I think that's just because, with the Preds, everything is in person here. Everyone, it's so much fun to be at the games. And so my thing here is I want that to translate to our online voice. I want to attract people and it can see just how fun it is in person that is online, even if they maybe don't live here. And so I really try to tap into a younger audience here. And I'm really proud of what we did in such a small time. Because we kind of blew up randomly the other day because there's this thing with a younger generation where they'll add teams to group chats, just hoping, and they're just talking about hockey, it can be younger people. They'll add teams to group chats, just hoping maybe a team would comment. And so it started with me just being hey, and commenting in one, and they're like, oh my God, the Preds commented. They're that's a modern day autograph, that's so cool. And they weren't even Preds fans. They were just added the Preds. And that was maybe in March or something. And now they're they're the best. They comment under all of our pictures. They bought jerseys. They want to come to a game. And it's then they tell their friends and their friends and their friends. And now it's we have this huge following where it's not even necessarily, they weren't originally Preds fans, and they're rooting for us. And I think also nowadays with that younger generation, they're a fan of players more than they are teams. And so they can like multiple teams and they don't care if they like this team and that team. And so the other night we kind of blew up with Montreal Canadian fans. I don't know how, it was a Cole Caulfield group chat. And I was just like, hey, we like Cole Caulfield too. And they went nuts. We got 1,000 followers from it. And I was just talking with them. And so my boss is funny because he's really great. Where like I said, he trusts my ability and like let me kind of run free. And he's like, what's with all the Cole Caulfield fans? And I'm like, I don't know, but it's awesome, right? Like they're like, go Preds, like talking with us. And so that's something that's really important, especially like with TikTok and just like different platforms and growing that. And so it's definitely really important for these smaller markets.
Yeah, and that actually kind of leads into our next question with how much access do you have to players to kind of build that connection and showcase the players for fans to see?
Yeah, luckily this year, since I am one of the small amount of people in the bubble with the team, I've had like really, really great access. Every team I've been with has been different, but this year has been good because I'm one of the only 4 people that can be allowed around the players. So it's like they quickly are like, okay, who are you? Like when I started, like what's going on, and so I can get pretty great access. The only thing that's been kind of different this year is like in past years, normally I would build relationships by covering practice. Okay, then we go into the locker room to have post-game interviews, and that's when I kind of like build relationships and get to know them. And you're just being that familiar face around all the time. Well, we don't have that this year. No one's allowed in the locker room in that way. There's no interviews with coaches like that this year. And so I think if I wasn't in the bubble this year, it would be definitely really, really hard. They would have no idea who I was. And so I'm lucky that I am, but it's, and then going on the road. And I think with COVID, it's been a pro for us that with these restrictions, because I'm one of the only 3 people around them. I'm the only person taking photos around them, and so it's like they figured out who I was pretty quickly. But our PR people have given us amazing access. Like I'm really lucky. Anytime I can do something, I'm like, thank you so much, because I know that it takes a lot of trust on both sides, from the players, from the coach, from our PR. And even the other day when Pekka had an amazing game, Pekka's, oh my God, he's a pro. He's just a legend. Like one of the most amazing players I've ever worked with my entire life. I've only been here for like 5 months, and they let us follow him around all day long. And even today I was like, thanks for letting us put a camera on your face all day. And he's like, I'm used to it. It's fine. I appreciate it. And so access is huge, and having that access. I can literally just go up to a player pretty much, or PR, and be like, hey, can I do this? Can I ask this player that you're okay? And so it's really great here to have that.
So you might have just answered this question, but which player is the most fun to get content from?
See, Pekka's great in the way you could ask him anything and he would say yes, even if he didn't want to. But I think currently Ryan Johansson, because he is just a goofball, and he would agree. Everyone says that about him. He's just him and Phil Forsberg. If they see a camera, they are like on, like they want to be in front of the camera. I say that to them. I'm like, you want to be in front of the camera. And so like they'll stick their tongue out or they'll say something funny, and so it's like, those are guys where it's like, okay, we want this fun piece of content. Who can we ask? It's like, okay, we'll ask Ryan Johansson. Like we'll ask Phil Forsberg, and they're always down for it. But Roman Josi and Pekka, they're just like such professionals. I have a funny story when it's like my first or second day and I was on the bench, and like I said, the guys are probably like, who is this person? There hasn't been anybody, filming us because of COVID. And Roman Josi came up to me and introduced himself to me, and I was like, and asked me like, am I new? Where am I from? Am I in the bubble? And he's like, well, I'm Roman. And I'm like, yeah, I know. But it's like I'm Sara. And he was like, well, it's nice to meet you. I'm, happy you're here. And I'm like, that was so kind of him, but it was just so funny. Like, that's how humble he is too, that he's like, had to introduce himself to me, him and Pekka. And he was like, I'm Pekka. I'm like, I know, but it was like, that's just how nice of guys they are too. And I think that can be said about a lot of hockey players compared to other sports. They're just very down to earth and, people like that. And you can go up and talk to them, but I won't forget that Roman Josi told me who he was. But that's just, he's a great guy.
Is there a goofball on every team? Like, is there what's like the main difference between working with Nashville or Dallas or New Jersey? Is it the players, the organization itself? Like, what are kind of some of the differences?
Yeah, I definitely think there's a funny guy on every team. You kind of have to have it. I think it's kind of like a locker room guy that, they have to they need that presence or that personality, I mean, Paul Bissonnette just pops into my head, but like he would even say like he knows he was not a good hockey player, but he was a good locker room guy. And you need that to like, kind of ease guys and to keep the, the mood light and stuff like that. In Dallas, Jamie Benn was actually a really big goofball. You just wouldn't know it because he had the driest sense of humor. And you would just like, in his post-game interviews would be so awkward, but he was doing that because he thought it was hilarious. And and so it's like you wouldn't kind of know that too. But Alexander Radulov was so much fun too with Dallas. He was always good to get content from. But I think it does have to do with the organization as well, and how the higher ups will let the guys kind of, run free. I know sometimes things are more serious. We were losing pretty badly here a couple months ago, and it's like practices aren't fun when we're losing, and they're not, the guys aren't loose. And then once you start, and it's hard for me because I want the fun content. I want to show their personalities, and sometimes like we just got to post the facts. Like, here you go, we're at practice, But then when we started winning and started picking up, like guys are fun, they're laughing, they're joking. Like that's what you want to see too. And but yeah, with the different organizations, it's all different in terms of like access and, teams, a social media team and PR team and all of that. But yeah, it's been different everywhere.
Yeah.
What would you say is the best part of your job?
Man, I truly love just like I get to go to a hockey rink every day. Like that's literally like the coolest thing to me. And that's what I've wanted all my life. And so I know not everyone knows what they want to do, but I feel like I've always wanted to know what I wanted to do from a young age. And like just being around the game and like being in a hockey rink, like it's so weird, just like the smell of it, the sounds of it, like it makes me so happy. And even when I was working in like junior hockey, like I still just loved it. I loved being in a hockey rink and just being around it all day. And so I love that part. But I also just love creating new fans and creating like fun experience for fans through social media and just seeing how happy someone can be from an interaction on social media. And I like the storytelling aspect. And I think that's my journalism background, but even tweeting, live game, we're telling a story, we're telling the game, I'm not in front of a camera, but we're still telling a story, of a player or whatever's happening. But yeah, I think I'm a lifer, as they would say. I want to be working in a hockey rink in some capacity for the rest of my life.
Well, it sounds like you have a lot of stories. What's your best memory of working in the NHL so far?
Oh man, this one's kind of sad. We don't have to put this one in. We don't want to, but I mean, definitely winning the cup with the when I was with the Penguins was really, really cool. But unfortunately, my dad passed away unexpectedly a couple of years ago, and we have the most amazing hockey memories together. Like, I think that's why I'm also really attached to hockey, is because that was our thing, and he was my best friend, and I have so many memories of being in a rink with my brother and my dad. And so I think what was really great was when he passed, I'd never had my first NHL job yet. It was always internships. And he pushed me so hard to like follow my dreams, follow everything I want to do. I always like say I have huge goals. So I feel like he wanted them more for me. And so his team was the Dallas Stars, Dallas everything growing up. And I wanted to do whatever he wanted to do. And so my first NHL job was with the Dallas Stars, and I got it 2 months after he had passed. It was like 2 months. I got a job offer like 2 months or 3 months to the date that he had passed away. And so I'd like to think that, he had something to do with that. And so I think and just being even in their offices, ironically, where the Dallas Stars offices are, it's the same rink that me, my dad, and my brother would go play at growing up. And so it's just like little things like that I think are really special. Yeah. And then when I came here to the Preds, I saw they did the cardboard cutouts. And one of the last texts my dad sent me was him saying that he wished he could watch another hockey game with me. And working in hockey, I don't get to watch it as a fan, and so it's really rare. Maybe if I get to go home for Christmas for a few days, maybe we could go to Dallas and watch a game, but like, there's not much time for that. And so I got a cardboard cutout of him and like put him in the stands. And so that's really great. I think that's why I love hockey so much and connects with him that way. But that's the sad I think, favorite memory. But and then when I got the job offer here with the Preds, it was weird. I was kind of waiting. I was like in a waiting game. Like I had all these interviews. They kept telling me, well, you'll hear something soon. You'll hear something soon. And I'm impatient and anxious. And I was waiting. And then I got the offer on like a Friday afternoon, and they're playing the Stars that day. And so I just feel like, oh, maybe I do that. Hopefully, I don't know. But yeah, that's pretty great. And working for his favorite team. And then definitely just seeing the Penguins win the cup. I was not necessarily a Penguins fan at all growing up, just a fan of the game. And so being able to be a part of that in a city that loves their team so much it was so cool to see that. And I mean, people can work for teams their whole life and never see a championship. Yeah. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah. Very cool. That's very cool. So as you said earlier, the Preds had a tough start to the season, but they finished well, and they made it into the playoffs when most people had counted them out. So how do you see their first round series against Carolina shaping up?
Yeah, I'm really excited. And I think these last two games, we played against Carolina in the regular season were a good, show of what the series is going to be like. And, it's funny, a lot of Hurricanes fans like, well, we sat all of our good players. I'm like, so do we. I mean, there's other great players out there, but I mean, a lot of our players, our core first line, and we a lot of guys we're seeing them too, But I think what the difference is we're both fast teams, and Carolina's a fast team, but and they're very skilled. But I think that we have some physicality that they don't, and that's something that I think in the playoffs it's a whole new ball game, and that's a really important factor to have. And so. I think that showed in the last game against them is that we have these physical guys that can really help, and I haven't seen that from them too much. And so I'm getting a lot of like 2017 Preds vibes from this team. And so, like you said, they count them out, and but like, playoffs are a whole different ballgame. And so you never know what can happen. And so I'm obviously pulling for the Preds. I think we'll pull it out, but we're hoping to get there. Still a game or two in Raleigh, and then come back and have 12,000 fans at Bridgestone, where it does make a huge difference for the players. And UC Saros has been just lights out. I mean, Peck is amazing too, but I mean, he's just when he's on, and it's unreal to watch. And so I'm really excited for this series.
Well, I think to finish off, we wanted to do a really quick sort of 5-question rapid fire with you, a little bit off the cuff questions. So I think Kristy has the first one.
So, yeah, I do. So you are a self-proclaimed coffee enthusiast. What's your go-to coffee order?
So I'm like an iced coffee year-round girl, and so I always have to have some iced coffee. But if I go to like Starbucks, I get like a cold brew or an iced coffee. I like a little bit of half and half, maybe like a pump of mocha if I'm feeling crazy, or some sugar-free vanilla or something. But I used to really like get fancy with it, but now it's just like, I don't know. I just my iced coffee, some creamer, and just a little bit of sweetener. I'm good.
Our next one is, what's your favorite NHL arena?
Oh man, my favorite besides the Predators, besides Bridgestone Arena, it is an electric arena. I mean, it's just insane to be there. I really like Montreal's arena. Just there's so much history, and it's so cool to be there. Also at Madison Square Garden. I just think that's just an iconic arena. And when I was with the Devils and we'd go over there and cover games, I mean, it was just so cool to be there. It's iconic.
All right, since you're in social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok?
Oh man. See, for work, I would say Instagram and Twitter are my favorite. Personally, I feel like I don't put as much love and attention to my personal accounts because I put so much effort into my work ones. I do personally like TikTok. I can watch TikTok for hours. But I think for work purposes, Instagram and like Twitter are my favorite.
And what is your go-to game accessory?
So, I mean, like outfit wise, I always want like a cute pair of shoes. They need to be comfortable because I'm on my feet a lot, but I have that. And then I always like to have some good shoes on. But also I have this on the back of my phone, this little strap.
Mhm.
It is a game changer. Like just to hold like I'm not shaking or anything. It's better than a pop socket. It's literally, I didn't have it on there for a while and it was so hard because like to just juggle that and a camera and another phone and that. And so it's something so small, but like it helps a lot.
Is that like a loopy case?
I don't know what it's called, a ghost strap, but it's like, I don't know. So I'll do this and it just will.
All right. So you heard it here first. That is the game day accessory everybody needs.
It's great. It helps a lot.
I think we should hook you up with a sponsorship or something.
Yeah, right.
Right? You must need multiple throughout the season. We'll finish off with which two teams will be in the Stanley Cup final and who will win. And you're allowed to say the Predators if you want.
Okay, I will say the Predators. I really do think that they're going to get far. I can really see this team going far. You know, it's been hard to watch a bunch of other hockey this year just with the way our divisions are. Like, it's like, I know everything on the Blackhawks and the Red Wings, and, you know, that's all that we've played. But I personally would like to see a Preds and Montreal Stanley Cup final. I do like Cole Caulfield. I think he's just so much fun to watch. And so that's what I would personally like to see. But like I said, so many teams have been so surprising this year with just the way the divisions are, and no one's gotten to play anybody else. So it's like, I don't know, you know what I mean? So it's kind of hard to gauge everything, but that's what I would like to, and I would like to see the Preds win. I think Pecorino needs a cup, and I want him to get one. He deserves it so much. That's my prediction, and I hope it comes true.
Well, that would be awesome for me also, because I live in Montreal and I'm a Habs fan. So I want to say thanks for all the Habs love you gave to the show. Yeah. And we also love Cole Caulfield, and we're glad that he's bringing you some fans, but please don't steal him too much.
I know. That's what's funny. When it was like trade rumors, they would be like, what about Cole Caulfield for Matisse Ekholm or something? And I'd be like, no, I just respond no. And they'd be like, go nuts.
Yeah. It's funny every time they're Montreal, they think is rumored. They're like, Cole Caulfield, and we're like, no.
No, they're like,
no, not happening.
Yeah.
Well, that's a wrap for this week. Unfortunately, we could obviously talk to Sara forever. I think we learned so much from you. So thank you so much for joining us and taking the time out just before playoffs. I know you're probably really busy these days, so we appreciate it, and wishing best of luck to the Preds. Hopefully they give you lots of great fun content. Yes. And hopefully your Montreal Nashville final comes true, because that would be awesome.
That'd be awesome.
And thank you again to Kristy, Hannah, and Mariah for joining me again this week. Thanks to all of you for watching and listening. Be sure to join us next week, as we'll be joined by TV and podcast host Raquel Goldie, who previously worked with the Florida Panthers. And until then, be sure to check out all the great shows that are being produced by the Hockey Writers on a weekly basis. We're up to about 9 shows now being produced on a weekly basis. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and all your favorite podcast platforms for now. And be sure to visit thehockeywriters.com to read all of our great articles written by the 4 of us and our colleagues as well, as we ramp up for the playoffs. And last but not least, I have to say that we have a brand new newsletter that we just launched called Morning Skate. So make sure to start your day off right with that newsletter that Kristy is a part of, actually. So a very important reason to sign up. Take care and see you soon. Bye.
Bye.